The hour of 6 p.m. has arrived. I call to order this regular meeting of the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. This meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel and on channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted on the website by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. Copies of the printed agenda are available in the wall pockets as you enter the meeting room. The public and other city councilors will be recognized to ask questions, make comments on any agenda item under discussion. After being recognized, all the remarks are to be made through the chair. I will not recognize an individual a second time until everyone who wishes has had an opportunity to speak on the topic. Anyone who wishes to address the committee is asked to go to one of the microphones in the room, identify themselves by name and address prior to speaking. And written comments from the public will be accepted at the city clerk's office until Tuesday at 1 p.m. Our minute takers participate remotely, so please ensure that you turn on your microphones and speak loud enough and so that she's able to get all the comments. And if we are speaking with our microphone off, we will hear from above. And we have a quorum, so we have 4, and we're prepared to get going. So our first item is from the downtown group. Mark, it's your floor.
Hi, folks. I am Mark Rebellard. I am a business owner downtown. I'm chair of the Keene Downtown Group. I live at 64 Blackberry Lane in Keene. I'm here to, well, I guess the Downtown Group is the producer of some festivals, Keene Ice and Snow Festival most recently. We are a group that supports the vitality and vibrancy of our downtown. We have a proposal that we are looking for city resources in terms of fire, police, and public works for a series of 2 to 6 festivals per year during the upcoming construction that's happening downtown. We find that these festivals create like a pulse of energy, right, or a pulse of commerce that is so needed by downtown merchants. We're looking at a potentially sales cliff, of what they call it, of downturn potentially based on what we see in other communities with construction projects. So we're doing these festivals as part of a 3-part plan that the downtown group is working on. In a previous letter, I had shared that with you all, but essentially it's show, dough, and go. And so what we're doing is those 6 festivals, we're trying to bring people downtown. We're also investing in we're seeking 2 grants, one state, one federal, where resources like the in-kind donation that the city might make in terms of fire, police, and public works might be matched 5-fold. So as part of that, there's a massive marketing campaign to tell people why it's so important to spend your money downtown and with local businesses. And then also a community currency program wherein all downtown merchants would be enrolled in a easy to redeem electronic funding, right? Where donors could give, let's say donors could give to a pool, and then those gift certificates or those vouchers could be used all over downtown. Not to be, they're not gift certificates. They don't last until 2030 when the construction's over. They're to be used in a short time frame. So between the 3, what we're really talking about is a massive marketing campaign for downtown. There's also resources for downtown businesses written into the spec of this stuff, like from Hannah Grimes and SBDC and MEDC and that kind of thing, and the resources that they can take advantage of. But back to the festivals. We're seeking the resources for 6 festivals that would be a footprint, we imagine, of Railroad Square. But the beauty of it is this is a collaboration, by the way, with the Colonial Theater. And the Colonial Theater has applied for and won a grant from T-Mobile for a $50,000 stage. And the stage is mobile, and we can put it anywhere. And so we've spec'd that with the city. It's only like 18 inches high, so it meets all the parameters, but it's got generators and lights and that kind of thing. So we're envisioning that that could be the center point of the festivals. And then we would incorporate all the downtown merchants and that kind of thing for sidewalk sales, for other events like what we did at the Keen Ice and Snow Fest, where there was animal shows inside stores, and in the Colonial Theater there was the Caterpillar Lab. Just, you know, we're going to build in a ton of activities around it. So that's the premise, and that's the ask.
Thank you. Committee members, questions? Well, we'll start over here then. I'll go straight across.
Chairman, on my mic. Number one, I'd like to congratulate you on a very successful recent festival that just happened. And in general, I really want to express my heartfelt gratitude for all of the energy and coordination that you, in particular, are leading in this effort to bring this vitality into our downtown. I, for one, hope that these go so well that this is something that we do into the future. Any opportunities on a smaller scale for people to interact right now, face-to-face, over something that has some enjoyment value, I just can't tell you how delighted I am to be able to support you on this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to echo my fellow councilor here. Thank you to KDG for what they're putting forth here to really help the downtown through the next couple of years. It's really awesome. I got to ask some tough questions, though, on this one. Reading through the document, what is this Jumanji-style race that was referenced on here?
Oh, I don't know if you've seen it, but it was spectacular. So the folks who put the Jumanji festival together that celebrated the 25th year of the film had a race where people dressed up in those inflatable costumes. And so there were all kinds, you know, there were giraffes and, you know, T-Rex and all kinds of critters running up Main Street as fast as they, you know, could go. And we're imagining something like that, the Keep Keen Wild, paying homage to that really cool Jumanji thing, where we have that same stampede. This, you know, it was from the movie when the stampede comes up Main Street. We're imagining something that culminates now with maybe a jungle-themed show and jungle-themed events, scavenger hunts, these kinds of things in downtown. Really, it's going to come back to, you know, we want to listen to the community and find out what the merchants feel might work, right? And then take that and incorporate it, and then come back with something. So, you know, we want to close the loop on how we do these things, which is why those dates may be a little tenuous. Maybe this works. Maybe it's a First Friday type situation that we want to move toward. But of course, that would all be done with minimal street closure and a lowest cost expense to the city that we could do.
Thank you. Looking forward to all the events this year.
Thanks.
All right. Members of the public wish to speak to this?
Okay. Motion one, move to recommend that any available unspent funds from the city's FY26 community events budget be used to help offset the cost of city services for the Keene Downtown Group for 2 small-scale festivals as part of the Dig Into Keene project, with event dates tentatively scheduled for April 4th and June 13th, 2026. Costs over and above the available funds will be the responsibility of the Keene Downtown Group.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All in favor? It's unanimous. And the second part of it,
I'll take number 2. Move to suspend Resolution R 2012-19, the City Council policy on funding for community events, to allow the city manager to include funding in the proposed FY27 community events budget for the Keene Downtown Group to conduct up to 4 small-scale festivals as part of the Dig Into Keene project, with event dates tentatively scheduled for July 25th, September 12th, October 1st, and November 27th of 2026, for consideration by the city council during budget deliberations, said funding not to exceed the $10,000 threshold.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Members of the committee? Seeing none? All in favor? No one's opposed? And that's unanimous.
Thank you.
You have the next one also.
I do. So the Heritage Commission and, I forget Molly's last name. Ellis, Counselor Ellis, have, and with the blessing of, well, you know, interested folks in the community have come forth with a plan for a 250th celebration of our country, and we're calling it Us 250. And this would include a parade and events that are going on at the Historical Society on July 4th this year. And it would coincide with the race that already occurs downtown, the 4 on the 4th. Those folks would be part of a parade that would continue, and there's ideas about how to encourage groups and nonprofits to build floats and that kind of thing. It will be a real community celebration that's planned. And again, we're looking for resources, police, fire, and public works for that event.
Okay, thank you. Members of the committee have questions? Go ahead.
I do. I am so excited about this celebration. I see that the proposed budget is $50,000. That's a big dollar amount, and you're explaining that these will be donations. What I'd like to ask is if you have a contingency plan in mind in case those donations don't come to that amount. Do you have the ability to pull that back? There's a lot going on, and if donations don't come to that $50,000, can you pull it back? It would be very uncomfortable to have to come to the city at the last moment and put us in the position of trying to finish the funding if you didn't get it, so.
You don't mean for resources, you mean just for the funding of the festival?
Yes.
Correct? Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, these things are always scalable.
Okay,
you know,
great.
Always with a mind to how much we can raise, but we're very confident that will
Terrific.
occur.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else up here? Members of the public wish to speak to this? In that case.
Oh,
Whoop. Absolutely.
I think we can let her talk.
We can sit together. That's okay. I just wanted to say that we have had a few protocol meetings. The mayor has brought together a group of individuals in the community that are interested in helping support this event. They include folks from the Swamp Bats, who will also be doing some things around that same holiday week or dates. The folks from the 4 on the 4th foot race. I think that it's going to become sort of a amalgamation of a lot of different efforts coming together. The parade route that we are working on is something that should be pretty minimal in terms of needing city staff support. Right now, the concept is a rolling closure, starting on Lower Main Street near the Historical Society, and then coming up Main Street and having the walkers sort of cleave off at Railroad Street, and all the people that are driving floats and any other motorized vehicles leaving the area via Washington Street. And so I feel like we've got a good sort of plan coming together, and that we're confident we can have a really family-friendly, fun event that brings people downtown that day. So I just wanted to provide that moral support.
Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Now, it's your- oh,
Oh, we can let him talk too. Come on.
he's- ask him for the first donation, Mark.
Jay Kahn, Mayor. Glad to say that I think we've got the first donation covered, not by me. I think this event sells itself, that the nation's 250th semi-cent
Sesquicentennial.
semi-cinquentennial, oh my goodness.
That's a
It's a
tough one.
semi-500-year event. And the state of New Hampshire Tourism, Department of Tourism is promoting statewide the 250th. They will be promoting different festivals that occur in the state. And the committee that we are part of, Mark and I, will also be promoting other events that take place in the county. So, for instance, the 250th will kick off on the night of July 3rd with the Swamp Bat baseball game and firework events that will take place on the evening of July 3rd. As you've already heard, July 4th is our traditional 4 on the 4th race. And abutting that then at 11 o'clock would be the kickoff of a parade down Main Street. In my estimation of this parade, the goal is to attract a couple of thousand people to be part of the parade and tens of thousands of people to be along Main Street observing the parade. Lofty goals, but I think this is what the community is looking for, is something that will really showcase the Monadnock region and Keene as a center of activity in the region. Relative to fundraising, I don't think our goal initially spoken of $50,000, I think will be easily achieved. And then we start to get towards some prize money, meaning how do you get thousands of people to participate? And one idea is that a bike decorating contest would take place with a winner of that decorating contest at like a $500 level, the kind of thing that might replace a bike for the winner. But and then it's a matter of who's going to provide the decorations. Would the committee have a bulk purchase and a community decorating activity taking place in the Keene State College Spalding parking lot, Spalding Gym parking lot, which is where that part of the event will mobilize, meaning that the larger vehicles will mobilize at Keene Public Works, and that's why Baker Street becomes a staging place for the parade's vehicles. Hopefully flatbed floats and a prize money for the best floats. We might have categories in order to excite more parties to participate in float building. And certainly municipal vehicles would be welcome as well. Antique vehicles are going to be invited to participate in the parade. And community groups will be invited to march. We have a vendor in town who is prepared to provide us with banners, 8-foot by 3-foot banners for groups that don't have a good event banner that they could march behind. But we would be preparing 50 of those for the first 50 registrants that need a banner for their group to carry. And this is, again, to show off the region, not to just, but to do this with class. And then it's a keepsake for those organizations to be able to use for subsequent events that they might hold. The staging from Bruder Street is significant because of the Revolutionary War monument that is on Baker Street for the mobilization of the Keene militia that marched down to Lexington and Concord. in 1774 and 5. The Historical Society of Cheshire County is going to be very active as a partner to the Keene Downtown Group in administering the affairs of the parade. And it will then proceed down Main Street with various performance venues along the way. There are performance groups that would then not only be in the parade, like the Keene High School Marching Band, the Nelson Town Band, but then other groups will be invited as well. We certainly anticipate another stage for readings, such as the Declaration of Independence by school-aged kids representing the different schools in the region. So you get a sense. This is not just a Keene thing. This is meant to represent the entire Monadnock region coming together to celebrate the significance of this day in our country's history. Glad to be of support, Mark.
That committee's been busy. I've been out doing ice and snow for a little bit. No, but the committee is really great. It's got Arts Alive. It's got the Cheshire Historical Society. It's got folks who are counselors, the mayor. It's downtown merchants and the downtown group. It's a really good team.
The Keene Sentinel and the Monadnock Radio Group as well.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to add something real quick. I want to thank Mark and the downtown group. So this idea was being formulated, and the mayor had been working with Councilor Ellis on this plan, but we needed a sponsor. We needed a nonprofit sponsor to step up, and Mark and the downtown group did that, so I'm really grateful for that.
Me too.
Well, thank you. Any other comments from the public? Get their names, sign them up.
No, we really appreciate that the city is in a position to offer its support. I think there'll be a lot of in-kind support coming from the community, and it's important that the city be party to this, and appreciate your support.
Thank you. I think you're ready.
Move to suspend Resolution R2012-19, the City Council's policy for funding community events to allow the city manager to include funding in the proposed FY27 community event budget for the Keene Downtown Group to conduct the Keene 250th Independence Celebration on July 4th, 2026 for consideration by the City Council during budget deliberations, said funding not to exceed the $10,000 threshold.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion by members of the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? No one's opposed. Unanimous. Great. Got three. Thank you very much.
I love zest.
And the finance director has the next item.
Good evening, Carrie Chamberlain, Finance Director. On September 18th, 2025, the council voted to accept funding from Revo Casino. The funding was a percentage of their revenues generated during the week of December 17th through December 26th of 2025, and that was part of a host community partnership. This resulted in a donation of $13,788.35 from Revo. We are requesting that this funding be utilized to offset the total expense related to the police department's Exacom hindsight system replacement, which is included as part of the fiscal year 27 capital improvement program. This equipment records all telephone and radio traffic in and out of the police department. It's slated for $41,300 in the CIP, so that would leave $27,512.
Thank you. Questions here? Members of the public? Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jacob Favalis, Main Street and Ward 1 Councilor. Just a question for either the Finance Director or the City Manager about how this project in particular was decided. I know the answer, but I think it would be good to get it into the record and for the committee and public to know as well.
Thank you for that question. The conversation that we had in regards to this donation is the host community agreements were created by the state of New Hampshire to help offset any impacts to municipal services that happen as a result of hosting a casino. And really, the greatest impact would be to our police services. And so we looked at the upcoming CIP to determine what was in the CIP that this might be able to apply towards, and the Exicom was an option for us.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to mention this more during our deliberation, but I figured I'll bring it up since it's in this same context here. Definitely agree. This makes sense for where it's going. I think if we were to ask all 15 counselors where would they like this funding to go, you'd get 15 or more answers, I'm sure. I'm sure a few of us would have a few different places we'd like to go. So I would love to see in future years, assuming that we continue to do this agreement, which I believe we likely will, for it to maybe go to other places as well, with the intent to be to offset services. The police department obviously makes sense, but also public infrastructure might make sense as well. If there's going to be increased foot traffic and car traffic going into certain areas of town, with Revo over there on Emerald Street, we're going to be seeing more traffic there, see more traffic on School Street and those areas. So if we can find ways to, fund spot street repairs, sidewalk improvements. I know we've got a lot of good concrete sidewalks over there, but if we can find other ways to kind of disperse the funds among those services that might be impacted, I think that'd be great.
Thank you.
Anything
Anything
else?
further?
Move to recommend that the City Council approve the allocation of the Revo Casino donation in the amount of $13,788.35 to the FY27 Police Department CIP for Exicom purchase.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion, members of the committee? Seeing none. All in favor? No one's opposed. That's unanimous. Thank you. City Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Brian Ruff, City Engineer. Your next agenda item is a request to execute a change order with GPI Greenman Peterson Incorporated for engineering services during construction for the 2026 Island Street Corridor Reconstruction Project. As you may recall, the city had to bid this project twice in order to select a contractor to perform the scope of work for the project. With our current workload at the time, it made the most sense to hire a civil engineer consultant to manage the project both from a construction administration and inspection standpoint, and had a full-time inspector on site. The initial notice to proceed was issued just after the 4th of July. It was a very tight schedule from the beginning, and SUR West was very upfront with that they were projecting to finish the project in 2025, but it would take basically everything happening right. Essentially, during the project, we added about 2 weeks of scope based on added scope of items that we asked the contractor to perform, and items that came up that were beyond a reasonable expectation of what could be expected, conflicts with the duck bank and needing to add drain work, that sort of thing. That, and we got into about mid-October, and the contractor was looking to install the sidewalk, and we essentially told him to wait until the spring of the following year based on lessons learned from previous projects where the concrete sidewalk isn't allowed to cure in time before salt application, and it ends up really eating away the sidewalk, and we didn't want to see that as far as this project. So we owe SUR West for this contract about, I would say, between 50 and 60 days time extension based on when they start back up. That's pretty much coincides with what GPI has put together for a scope of services and associated fee for construction engineering services in 2026 for the project. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Members of the committee? Yes, ma'am.
So from my understanding, what you're explaining is this is not a penalty. We're not paying a penalty. We're paying for additional work that we've requested, and then a delay to the sidewalk, which had to be done in the subsequent season. So I'm glad to hear that. I'm wondering for the downtown project if there are aspects of this that we can learn from, or can we learn from some of these aspects to make sure that we're thinking ahead about delays and having provisions in the contract to make sure that we don't pay any more than necessary, knowing that these things are going to happen. I mean, this is a common aspect of construction. I do understand that. But if we could just make sure we pay attention to that.
Sure, it's a great point for the downtown project. What we're looking to do is rescope it as a 3-year project with a opportunity to do final restoration of the spring of the 4th year, essentially. With that, we're putting in provisions in the contract requiring the contractor to restore all areas that are disturbed within that calendar year. So they could do a certain limit of the downtown Main Street area, but they have to restore that all in the same year. So they can't leave it all chopped up to go through the winter, basically. So we are incorporating provisions that will cover us from those standpoints, yes.
Terrific.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Great question, though.
Members of the public? Okay. Your turn.
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute a change order for construction engineering services with Greenman Peterson, Inc. for 2026 construction as part of the Island Street Corridor Improvements Project.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion, members of the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? No one's opposed? Unanimous.
Your
Next one, too?
Your next agenda item is a resolution request to allocate planned funding for engineering services for the Robin Hood Park Improvements Project. And for the record, Brian Ruff, city engineer, and I think Director Fisk-Hennessy can speak to that project more eloquently than I can, so I'll hand it over to her.
So to give a bit of background, again, Kara Fisk-Hennessy, Parks and Recreation Director. We engaged the community in 2023, talking about the need for infrastructure, rehabilitation, replacement, and improvement at Robin Hood Park. Through those conversations, the number one item of emphasis was the pool. In order for us to allocate these funds properly as part of the CIP, and we already have secured grant funding through the Land Water Conservation Fund, we have developed this as a 2-phase project. Phase 1 is the pool. So we are really looking forward to improving the infrastructure, energy, and water efficiency of the pool itself. And that's designed to be in FY27. In FY28, that would be Phase 2, which are all of the other action items that the community engagement process allowed us to look at. We are requesting the advanced spending of these planned funds to develop the contract documents, the plans, and the specifications to be construction ready for Phase 1 this fiscal year. That will allow us to still go through the process for Phase 2, which will be everything but the pool, and allow us to rehabilitate the pool without any loss of use.
Thank you. Questions here? Members of the public? It's a great project, so getting out in front of it is going to be a good plan. And of course, we know what the weather does to us for these construction things.
That's right.
And I think we've had some experience before trying to get our pools. So we're probably going to find some of those things that we don't anticipate, but we're planning ahead. I think it's your turn.
Yep. Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute a change order for construction engineering services with the Greenman Pearson, Inc. for the 2026 construction as part of the Island Street.
Next one.
Next one down. Oh, one down. Move to recommend that the city council refer to the draft resolution to the Finance, Organizational, and Personnel Committee for review and recommendation to the city council.
Second. Wait, are we in the right
Mr. Chair, I think there might have been, just in our packet, there's a little bit of typo there.
glitch there?
I can take this one quick if
All right.
you want, if you don't mind. Move to recommend the adoption of Resolution R 2026-05.
Second.
There's a typo in the packet, a copy of it, I think.
Oh, okay, because I saw the one here about Robin Hood Park, and it's,
Yeah.
I know, right? No,
Okay, that's right.
I think we got it straight
okay.
now.
All right, and you've been seconded.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Good luck with that.
So,
you guys go, oh,
This
there's
is
Robin
correct
Hood,
for
but
this
the other
one?
one is.
Public Works Director.
oh, at 2,000, there we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Don Lucia, Public Works Director. With me tonight is Mr. Ben Hoy, and I believe that this is Ben's first opportunity to address a city council committee. So I would ask that you all be gentle with him. Ben is our new solid waste manager. So he I guess you would say he replaced half of Duncan. Duncan, as you know, before his retirement, served as both Assistant Public Works Director and also the Solid Waste Manager. So Jim Mountford, the Fleet Manager, is half of Duncan, and Ben is the other half. So he is full-time up at the transfer station operating that facility. We're here to talk tonight about Resolution 2026-06. Now, if Duncan was still here, he would remind you how every year during the CIP, we talk about the recycling equipment replacement program and how we plan ahead and we plan to replace the equipment, but we don't automatically replace it just because the schedule says so. We have gotten pretty good at milking as much life out of this equipment as possible, to the extent that basically the entire facility, the entire assembly of recycling equipment is original to the expansion 30 years ago. So with that sort of background said, I will say we've gotten as much as we can out of some of the equipment, and it's time to start replacing some of it. So Ben can explain the details of what we're planning to do.
Yes, thank you very much. Ben Hoy, for the record, Solid Waste Manager, City of Keene. So we had $200,000 in our CIP budget for recycling equipment replacement program. We had a couple bids go out. Machine X ended up coming in with the winning bid at $247,800. So that was $47,000 over what we were budgeted. What we're asking is to transfer money from the solid waste fund into our recycling project fund to cover the balance and to keep us going. We got 30 great years out of that equipment. Like Don said, we got every bit of use we could out of what we kind of initially started with, and it'd be very beneficial to have new equipment. So with that, we're asking for $65,000 from the solid waste fund to cover the Machine X bill for $247,000. And the additional funds would be to cover the electrical cost to install that equipment. So with that, that's I think what we're looking for.
So specifically, this contract will replace the in-feed conveyor. That's the sort of the angled conveyor that grabs the recycles that you dump in and brings it up into the facility, as well as the sorting line conveyor belt, where the workers actually pull out the different materials that can be recycled and pull them aside. It's not all of the recycling equipment, and you will see in future CIPs that we continue to budget money to replace some of the other equipment in that line.
Thank you. Questions up here? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, it seems to be my night. So I'd like to know, it sounds like from what you're telling us that the current processes of recycling at the recycling center will remain the same. We're just replacing equipment. We're not expanding what we're recycling
Correct.
to number 7 or whatever. We're sticking with what we've got and replacing that equipment.
That's right.
Right now, correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Definitely
you.
excited to have you here. So since we're grabbing funds from the unallocated fund balance rather than excess funds that are either in this project or from some other project that's under budget, do we foresee this either, is this going to be a big impact to our unallocated fund balance, or do we see having to push any other projects in the coming years because of this allocation?
No, right now, the solid waste fund has about, in round numbers, $2 million in the unallocated fund balance. It's got a pretty healthy balance. That said, you know, we've managed that fund so that the solid waste fund is completely separate from the general taxation. It doesn't get any support from the general tax base. It is self-funding. And, you know, we kind of manage it for that. So, no, we don't see any impacts to the health of the fund from this.
And just for edification, this is not new money, this is existing funds. And I think he did say, but I'll state it for everybody else, that solid waste fund is not tax dollars. This is a separate operation that we happen to manage. Yes, sir.
When I was listening, you said you had this, all this equipment, you've been able to stretch it to the end of its life. But sometimes when you stretch everything to the end of its life, you have to replace everything. So is this going to be a start of more in replacement?
Like I mentioned, there are other pieces in the chain of processing that are going to need to be replaced. The two that come to mind first are going to be what's called the magnetic belt separator. Is that right, magnetic? Yeah. Basically, it's a magnet that pulls steel cans off of the line and kicks them off to the side. And then the next piece down is what's called the eddy current separator. That one pulls aluminum cans off of the line. We separate out some of the aluminum cans, but aluminum that isn't separated out earlier in the process gets separated by the eddy current. Those two will need to be replaced at some point.
Thank you.
Anything else up here? Members of the public wish to speak to this?
Move to recommend the adoption of Resolution R 2026-6.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Mr. Chair.
Ben.
Thank you.
Thanks. And the last item on our agenda this evening is a letter from Councilor Workman. Welcome.
Catherine Workman, Colorado Street, Keene. Feels weird being on this side of the table. So I'll try to be brief so I don't keep you guys here all night. But you have my letter. I think I was pretty clear in what the request is. But I still think I need to be really explicit about what this is not. So this is not about questioning the professionalism of our officers or the value of any interagency cooperation. I know that cooperation is essential. While recent interagency operations may have initiated my inquiries, this is not about immigration either. A clear and current MOU protects officers' safeties, improves response effectiveness, and is necessary to public safety. The question is not whether these partnerships should exist. It is whether the written agreement that governs them reflects today's legal environment, operational realities, and accountability standards. Another question in front of you tonight is whether strengthening our policies regarding MOUs is operational interference. The current MOU was developed under an earlier legal and operational landscape. Since 2019, there have been changes in state law, changes in federal and state incident command expectations, expanded multi-agency operations, and evolving evidence and data practices, and updated risk management standards. Recent New Hampshire legislation demonstrates how quickly the statutory framework surrounding law enforcement cooperation can change. Whether or not a single law is central to daily operations, these shifts underscore a larger point. Agreements like this are living documents and cannot remain static. Current MOUs should specify how policy differences are resolved during joint operations. They should include regular review requirements so they can stay aligned with law and best practices. It's important to highlight these are governance safeguards, not tactical or operational directives. Requesting that an interagency MOU be reviewed and updated is not operational interference in policing. It's important to note RSA 106 only relates to Anti-Sanctuary Cities Acts and Title 8 of the U.S. Code, which relate federal laws governing immigration, naturalization, and citizenship. Again, this is not what my request is about. Operational interference would mean directing officers how to conduct arrests, how to investigate crimes, or how to make tactical decisions in the field. That authority rightfully belongs to law enforcement leadership and trained professionals. I'm not trying to get in their lane. But by contrast, reviewing and updating an MOU is a governance function. It is contract oversight. It is risk management. It is ensuring that intergovernment agreements entered into the city's name are legally current, structurally sound, and fiscally responsible. It does not direct police tactics. It ensures that the framework within which cooperation occurs is clear, current, and defensible. In fact, clarity protects officers. Documented command protocols prevent confusion. Updated agreements reduce legal ambiguity, which can otherwise fall back on the officers asked to act within them. In December, we saw this firsthand when there was confusion over operational jurisdiction and practices among local law chiefs who have signed the MOU. Each had a different interpretation of it. A periodic review requirement is now standard best practice in most interagency agreements. Including such a requirement is not a criticism of leadership. It is recognition that our laws and society evolve. This request is about modernization, transparency, and just good governance. It respects operational independence while fulfilling oversight responsibility. It strengthens interagency cooperation rather than weakens it. And it ensures that when our agencies work together, which they will and should, they do so under an agreement that reflects current laws, current standards, and current realities. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I I just wanted to take the opportunity to give a little bit of research that I did in anticipation of this conversation. As Councilor Workman explained, her letter concerns a MOU with the police department, a memorandum of understanding. Sure.
Can you also say who you are? I'm sure everybody knows.
Excuse me. Amanda Palmera, City Attorney. Better, I hope. As I was saying, I wanted to take this opportunity to share a little bit of the research I did in anticipation of this item coming up. Councilor Workman's letter does describe a memorandum of understanding with the police department. I know the city council does work with the city manager on authorizing her to enter into contracts, other memorandums of understanding or agreement. Statutorily, this one is very unique, a little different. There are state laws that describe specifically this exact agreement and who has the authority to enter into it and what the effect of it is, what the scope of it is. Those are set out in RSA concerning policing and police jurisdiction, and specifically this type of agreement as lives under RSA 4811A is for the police chiefs of any municipal department to enter into. This is not one that the city manager has to enter into or has authority to look into, neither the city council or in other towns, the select board, anything that you might expect to see with other memos. So I wanted to make sure we understood the specific type of MOU we're looking at here for that context. And then I know the counselor also explained not being concerned with that reach of this MOU concerning immigration law. I did want to also note, I think there was a misunderstanding, not with the counselor's statement, but in a conversation and article related in the Sentinel, that the MOU the police department has, whether that does concern authority for immigration law, has, as the counselor said, has nothing to do with that authority. That was not an accurate depiction of what the MOU's effect is. And that's what I have, but I'm certainly, if you have more questions, let me know.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So I think I understand you to say that we don't get to have any say in this agreement. The statute says that this is handled by the police chiefs because it's a memorandum of understanding between them. In the circumstance where the public has concerns, is there a way that we can facilitate the public being able to, in a organized manner, be able to express those concerns within the context of it being a police chief endeavor?
I think actually this setting provides some commentary for the public. There's, this is intended, this type of process, for you to hear concerns from the community members. I do give that background about the authority to enter the agreement because regardless of maybe the conversations we have tonight, it's not going to be something that you have authority to say that needs to go into the MOU or that's something the police chief needs to do. That is not going to be an option legally.
But this is a valid venue, and the minutes will be communicated to the police chief. He may be in the, okay. Okay, great. I just want to.
You set? Anything?
I'm set.
Chief?
Come on down.
I think I'll just stay here if that's all right. Is this on? Steve Stewart, I'm the police chief. Let me try to keep track of everything that was just said there. In terms of a review of this document, it was reviewed at the January 20th of this year Cheshire County Chiefs meeting, which I attended. The topic of the mutual aid agreement came up. All the chiefs in the room were satisfied with it. There was talk about this immigration portion of it. Everyone that was present agreed that it had to do with motor vehicle offenses and criminal offenses, not civil immigration law enforcement. And yeah, there's no real desire to make any further changes to it, to the extent that someone offered that most of the signatories were no longer even the current chiefs, which doesn't have anything to do with the validness of the agreement. There wasn't even any appetite to sort of recirculate it and re-sign it with the current chiefs. So that's where it stands in terms of that. In terms of the review of this document, like I said, it was reviewed, but it's also subject to legal scrutiny, probably, daily, by defense attorneys. The county attorney was in the meeting, the chief's meeting. He has no issues with the way that it's constructed, and there hasn't been any successful, challenges to the legality of it. And no, we haven't had any substantial, issues that couldn't be worked out regarding it in many years. So, any questions?
Any questions for the chief? Thank you. Any folks in the audience like to speak to this topic? Well, in that case, see, no.
Hey, everybody. Jody Newell. I live on Leverett Street. I think, things are evolving and looking into the law and seeing kind of how that translates. It sounds like this is a decision for the police chiefs, but of course there can be some influence here. I wanted to ask you actually, because you said 43, I thought, and I know I read it wrong, so when I looked up the mutual aid, it was RSA 153, I think, and I was just wondering if I misheard that or...
I'm sorry if I misspoke, 4811A.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I just wanted to come and speak in support of Kat's letter, and I think the intention behind it is really to clarify what jurisdiction is, and I think obviously if that's what the RSA says, then that's what we're beholden to. But I do think that, of course, we can have some influence as a community and kind of voice what we would like to have in our community or not. So, yeah, that's about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, thanks for coming. Well, somebody else is good. Gotta raise your hand, I can't see that far.
Hi, I'm Jules Gibson. I live on Central Square. It sounds like there's a lot of different things at play here, and that there's, limited authority of the city council, and that this is in the hands of the police chiefs, but that the record here is that this information and commentary will go to them to aid them in their conversation. So that's the spirit in which I share with you today. It's great to hear from the city attorney that some of the legal ambiguity that was reported recently has been cleared up. So that was the initial point I was going to speak to, is that it's just never great when the public perception of something is that there's legal ambiguity around jurisdiction and law enforcement. And I think that maybe there could be more done to clear that up with the public and what the jurisdiction actually is and what the agreement is and how it works, and so people have a good understanding of what that means and how it impacts their safety or felt sense of safety. I know that the counselor and others have said this isn't about immigration. I think that there's a substantial piece of this that is, in the sense that there was an incident involving arrests at the courthouse where people felt really confused about what law enforcement were doing from another town, arresting, in their capacity insofar as they're working with federal law enforcement and ICE, what they're doing making arrests in Keene. So because that is one of the pieces of ambiguity around jurisdiction, it feels like that is part of the conversation. And also, I think even if the jurisdictional ambiguity were cleared up and we were all on the same page about what that was, I would also ask that, or I would just suggest that revisiting an MOU between law enforcement in Keene and law enforcement in surrounding towns should depend not only on what is legally permissible, but what is ethically viable. So the way that law enforcement in Keene think about their relationship with federal law enforcement and ICE, does that align ethically and morally with the way that other towns, as part of this MOU, are thinking about their own relationship with these agencies. I think that's really important to think about. Like, I'm sure there are lots of good reasons for this interagency cooperation across the county. But if there are core pieces of our values that aren't in alignment on this, I think that should also be like a point of consideration for thinking about how we approach the MOU. And I think that's what I'm hoping that people might speak to today is concerns they have about whether or not our values in Keene and the way that we relate to the community and the way that we relate to federal law enforcement in this time is in alignment with the law enforcement of neighboring communities. And if it's out of alignment to a degree that we no longer wish to have a memorandum of understanding with them because the difference is too great. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead.
While we're all in the room, for my edification, and I'm sure there's somebody else here, could we clarify what is the basis that Troy has the ability to come into Keene? Is it because Cheshire County Jail is not Keene? Could you help us with that?
Sure. So the question is, why can Troy come into Keene?
And take people out of our... And take people from, as they leave Cheshire County Courthouse.
So it's my understanding that the Troy Police Department, who is a participant or a signatory in the 287G program, which authorizes local police departments, state police departments, county sheriff's departments to enforce execute warrants on civil immigration issues, right? My view of it would be this. He was a task force officer for ICE. Manchester ICE asked him to come to court when they knew that these people were going to be there and make arrests on warrants that they had. So that's what was done. The chief has stated in the paper that his view was that the county mutual aid agreement covered him under that. We've discussed it. He knows that I don't agree with that his authority came from his federal designation as a task force officer with ICE. Now, it's important to note that he's not the only person that's sworn or authorized to take these sort of 287G activities. New Hampshire State Police participates in the 287G program. They're in the county, in the city all the time. There's at least 3 sheriff's departments that are part of the 287G program. All sheriff's departments in New Hampshire have statewide jurisdiction. So that's sort of my understanding of it, if that's clear for you.
So we have to anticipate that any of the organizations or entities that have signed this 287G can come to Cheshire County Courthouse and take people when they come out.
That's 100% correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Counselor?
Won't be as long, so I'll stand. I just have a quick question. So it was noted that the MOU has been reviewed. In all fairness, how is the public supposed to know that? So I had difficulty even finding the MOU, even though it's supposed to be public. And then all the signatures on it were from 2019, and there's nothing about a review period or anything like that. So I'm like, in all fairness, how is the public supposed to know that?
Well, the reality is everybody knows now, so there's certainly some value for this discussion. And we are very meticulous about how we take our minutes, and there are a lot of folks here this evening, and there's a lot more watching us through our various media. So that question is now out, has been out, and it's been discussed. So That's how folks are going to know that it most recently been reviewed. Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick add, and we are also putting it on our website. That was one of the things that the chief and I talked about, so that if someone wants to know what's in the agreement, that they can go to the website and read it.
Counselor?
Hi, Bobby Williams, 66 North Lincoln Street, Councilor Ward 2. First of all, just want to say it's pretty wild to me that the 287G agreement that Troy has extends outside of Troy. It's one thing for Troy to have an agreement that they can enforce ICE rules within Troy, but, you know, the extraterritoriality of that, I think, is something that should be subject to legal challenge. I also want to reiterate Councilor Workman's point about, you know, how are we supposed to know anything about the MOU agreement, which I have here, and this is the first time I've seen it. So I haven't had a chance to review it, which I hope is what we'd be doing here, but I haven't seen it before. I will give it a review, but I would like to see this publicly disseminated so that a lot of eyes can see it and understand what it is and have some thoughts about it. Finally, I want to express my concern that, you know, when we have these mutual aid agreements and then they start getting involved with immigration enforcement, we're opening ourselves up to potential legal liability. There's a lot of illegal things going on with respect to immigration enforcement right now. You can look at what's happening in Minnesota. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits coming out of that. You know, the state of Minnesota is already talking about suing the federal government for vast amounts of money. There's also so many individual lawsuits that can happen. And if an agency is aware that, you know, by doing an arrest, you're opening someone up to a process that is no longer due process. People are, you know, getting deported without having a proper hearing. They're being put into warehouses with inhumane conditions. And, you know, if police officers are aware of that, what liability are they exposing themselves and exposing us as a community to when eventually the wind shifts and we start seeing a reckoning as far as legal liability on this? I don't want to be on the wrong side of that. And I think that our MOU should consider that, and it needs to be careful. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I have a question maybe for the city attorney. When the federal government creates a task force and involves the local police, then that falls under really a different type of legal justification than it would be just us making an MOU among local police departments.
I believe I understand your question. I think that's right. When there's, I'm going to say the word deputized, not in like an actual sense, but if somebody or local law enforcement has been deputized to enforce federal law, just like federal agents would have jurisdiction throughout the entire United States, those agents working on behalf of the federal authority would have the same reach. So somebody enforcing federal law through that wouldn't be pigeonholed to a certain area when they're enforcing national law.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lauren Hubele. I'm at 180 Hurricane, and I want to follow up on what Councilor Chalice mentioned. And this was, I need further clarification, and maybe this comes from the chief, is if Keene has decided not to engage in this type of cooperation, yet surrounding areas have, what benefit do we have from not engaging in that cooperation if these surrounding areas can enforce their actions within our community?
I'm not a legal scholar, but to Counselor Williams' point, if our police have decided not to engage, it seems to me that they are not engaging, and that in the future, as the winds change, there may be benefit to our entire community, let alone individual police officers. Now, if that's legally not valid, I apologize.
Yeah, thank you.
So I guess I just want to make sure that we stick on point here, that the mutual aid agreement that's the city of Keene is a signatory to has nothing to do with federal agencies, nor will it ever, because it's not provided for in the statute that allows this agreement to come together. If another agency, if another town has decided to sign, that doesn't affect this agreement. This is solely for state of New Hampshire law enforcement and state law. And it's, I know it's confusing for you. And I guess the best other way to amplify the situation is the officers in the agency that signed on to do the federal work are doing it as federal agents when they're doing it. So it does not affect their authority as state law. It's outside of that. Thank you. All right. So we have a motion somewhere. Who's done? Yes, sir.
Move to recommend that the request for review and update of the 2019 Interagency Memorandum of Understanding involving local law enforcement partners be accepted as informational.
Have a second?
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Further?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out and the insight from the chief, the research from the city attorney, and just everyone's comments. So thank you, everyone, for coming out and sharing everything.
I want to second that. These are really difficult times. And the more that we can figure out ways to have conversations and explore them with as many parties as possible at the table to keep the craziness out of it and understand what's already in place that may need to be changed, but cannot be changed at this moment. I really appreciate that patience and your willingness to be part of the conversation.
So I want to get the motion. Moved and seconded.
Yep.
We've had discuss. All in favor here? No one's opposed. Thank you for bringing the topic. Thanks for those who have come and had a little bit of a discussion towards it. I think there's a better understanding. And anytime you have a question, look one of us up, and we'd be happy to talk to you. Chief, thanks. We're adjourned.